Alrighty guys, welcome back to another LEGO set review from BrickByBrick, and today we have the LEGO Ideas Back to the Future DeLorean, set number 21133. Contains 402 pieces and retails for $35 in the United States. So the actual DeLorean build looks pretty good. It's, decently sized. It's about 8 wide, plus a little bit for the wheels and stuff on the side. Like how they captured this front bumper and the grille. It would have been amazing to see the DMC logo printed there, but they probably didn't get the actual, DMC trademarks, just the, rights to the DeLorean from the movie specifically. This hood section I can't help but wish was a little bit smoother. However, there is an important feature that has to do with this, which we'll take a look at in a little bit. But the wiring that goes down the sides looks decent. The doors, I mean, the mirrors are all right, but there is a little bit of a gap on the back. And just the overall detailing for the rest of it looks, pretty good. You can see it does have a printed out-of-time license plate from its appearance in, the 1985 version, but, that gets changed pretty quickly, at the end of the first movie, it's different, so it doesn't have a big role. This back here is the plutonium core, and it's got the, I don't know what you call them, but maybe the exhaust or heat intakes or whatever. I don't know what they're used for actually, but they're just on the time machine version of a DeLorean. And it looks pretty cool. But overall, I'd say that it looks decent. I think the back section looks good. The hood doesn't look all that great. And it would have been awesome if this was actually, glassed. But now moving on to, the basic features. It's got the gull-wing doors, like all good DeLoreans should have, and they do hold up pretty well. You can sit a figure in there. If you really squeeze them, you can kind of get Doc in there too. But, usually Marty's the only one driving. He's usually there by himself. And if you don't attach him by studs, it works fine. He's just kind of sticking his head out the window. But, you can kind of squeeze it. It just would have been nice if they did something a little bit differently, maybe made these panel pieces somehow. And just so that you could, fit two figures side by side. But it does look good with just the one figure in there. Obviously, both doors, gull-wing, open. And inside the cockpit of the DeLorean, you can see there is a flux capacitor piece printed in there. And it says on there, I can't read the first word, but disconnect capacitor drive before opening. Shield eyes from light. There was a misprint in early versions of the set where the word shield was spelled incorrectly. Yeah, I brick-linked this together. I didn't buy this, at retail, because I wasn't into Back to the Future back then when it was on shelves, but I decided to buy a correct version of that. And then here we go. This is the time drive, or whatever, the time output display. I forget the actual name. My friend's going to make fun of me for that. But in there, that is the date the Lego brick was patented, the first, or 1/28/1958. 10/26/1985 is back to, an actual date from the movie. I believe that's the day they are before they travel to 2015, because they go to October 26th, 2015. I don't remember if they're actually on the 26th in 1985, though. Could just be combining two dates. But overall, I'd say that, and just like that, the DeLorean is a pretty cool set for Back to the Future fans. It's got some good prints in there. But that's not all. The set includes a handful of accessories that you can use to customize your DeLorean to be from any of the 3 movies. Note, spare tires aren't included, but since I brick-linked it together, I just bought an extra 4 tires, so I wouldn't have to switch the tires over every single time. So, to go from movie 1 to movie 2 is quite simple. All you do is turn the wheels. They're on a, Technic joint, and they turn perfectly to not exactly flat, but exactly how the wheels are oriented in the movie, and all 4 wheels do that. It does leave a little bit of an unsightly tan Technic pin there, but if you view it at an angle like this, it's not too bad. And they do also include some transparent clear bricks, so you can stick your DeLorean in a hovering position, just like so. However, that's not the only modification that goes on. In order to turn it into the second movie version, you have to attach the Mr. Fusion, which looks pretty good. It could have been done, I think, a little bit better, but it's not bad for what it is. And the other thing you can change is this out-of-time license plate, which is really pricey on the aftermarket, by the way, into the barcode license plate from the second movie and the end of the first and all throughout the third. But just attaching that back on there, makes it look pretty cool. And I do like that, or I do like this third movie, or second movie version, what am I talking about? I like the second movie version of the DeLorean. Maybe a little bit better than the first, just because it's a little bit more visually interesting. I think it could have been done a little better on the sides. And the hood still does not look that great. But, it's something different, something interesting. And maybe a little bit more iconic than the original one. Who am I kidding? The original one's obviously the most iconic of all of them. But, this is definitely up there. Obviously, you could leave the second movie version as, a road DeLorean. But what happens when you switch to the third movie? Well, for starters, you keep the out-of-time license plate and Mr. Fusion, because it is a, version of the DeLorean from 1985. It's the one that they, travel back to the, or to 2015 and back and beyond and all that. It's that same DeLorean, basically, is what I'm getting at. But, it, kind of got zapped into the past. So, here's what we got. We've got some red wheels. These are to drive on the train tracks. They do come with tires. I almost think it might be more accurate without them. But, or like for the one scene where they're on the actual train tracks. It'd be really embarrassing if I make a mistake here. Because, Back to the Future. But I do believe that they did have the actual red wheels with tires, at least on the version of the movie DeLorean that I have seen personally in real life at the Boston Museum of Science, because I live in Massachusetts. It had, the white wall tires with the red center, so maybe white would have been a better color here. But that's not all. There's one more minor modification to make, and that is attaching the engine, which is the reason that the hood looks a little weird. And honestly, I don't think it's worth, worth this look just to make the hood like this. But I do think that it does look good this way. And I think that this, therefore, is the best way to display this DeLorean, just because it doesn't make the hood look as weird as the other two versions. So, real, actual DeLoreans, obviously, I think the first movie and second movie are the two better looking ones, but in the actual Lego set, this ends up being my favorite of the three. So, the other two kind of let me down a little, but I think that overall, pretty good look. So, everyone's two favorite time travelers appear first in minifigure form in this set, and that is Doc Brown and Marty McFly. And these figures both were later reused in the Dimensions theme. However, they did introduce a new hair mold for Doc Brown in the Dimensions pack, which is significantly better looking, but for the sake of this review, I have to stick with the old hair. So, I would definitely have loved to see that hair mold introduced back here in the Ideas theme, but they don't introduce new parts, only new prints for Ideas sets, so, whatever. Marty McFly comes with a skateboard, which doesn't have too much prominence. Obviously, would have been amazing to see a hoverboard, which we later see in the Dimensions theme. making all Back to the Future fans happy. Only thing we're missing here is a Save the Clock Tower printed newspaper. But the torsos of both of them are brand new and specific to these characters. The Doc Brown one has a nice shirt underneath, and I like the detailing of Marty McFly's vest. And the back prints on both of them, look pretty good. The face prints also, I love Doc Brown's face print. I think it looks awesome. Marty McFly, is kind of generic, but still character specific. And I did not want to. I wanted to turn your head around. Yeah, there we go. That's the other expression we get for Doc Brown, and I really love that one in particular. Looks exactly like he's saying "Great Scott" or something like that. And Marty's nervous expression is alright. I think of the two, Marty is better looking, but Doc with his hairpiece, once Dimensions comes around, looks fantastic and is one of my favorite minifigures, I'd say. They could have used a little leg printing, would have been nice to see, but I think that, especially for Doc, maybe it would have been nice to get like a belt or something, or like pockets printed on Marty's jeans. But for Doc especially, I think that the plain legs are justified. And yeah, I don't think that these are bad figures in any right, but Doc is significantly improved by the new hairpiece that comes later. So if you're just looking for a Doc figure, especially because this set is expensive on the aftermarket, I'd recommend going the Dimensions route. But, yeah, I think that they're both good. So overall, as a Back to the Future fan, I am satisfied with the set. However, I feel like there was a lot of room for improvement here. Honestly, the original idea submission might have looked a little bit better than this, if I had to, say, choose between the two. This is not having looked at the original idea submission in the last, 5 minutes, but, I think that this is good. It's really nice to get these Back to the Future specific prints, but I think that the actual DeLorean itself, which is, obviously the largest part of the set, doesn't look as good as it could have. I don't think it looks bad, but I've seen a lot of DeLorean mocks around the internet, and a lot of them are better than this. So I would be really happy if we ended up getting another DeLorean set in the future that, improved upon this one, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. So, as it's our only option to get some of these Back to the Future specific parts, I really like the set in that sense. I like that it was made, I just don't like how it was made, if that makes any sense. I do think that, back when it was out on shelves, it was a good value and everything, and I would have recommended it then, but I would have preferred maybe a slightly higher price point and a little bit more, design work put into this thing. Not that they did an awful job, but just I think that the DeLorean as a vehicle has a lot more potential in LEGO form than was exhibited here. So, hopefully you guys kind of understand what I'm getting at here. Obviously, this is, in the past after it is no longer on shelves, so I'm going to briefly insert a little comment saying that the aftermarket prices on this are relatively high. I would recommend personally, if you want this, to bricklink it, and that would leave you options to actually customize some small things. Like you could change the way the hood is done. You could try and use one of those 6x8 slopes. Look up some inspiration if you need it. Personally, I do think that it is not worth the elevated price, especially when you can get these Dimensions minifigures in Dimensions packs, which are frequently being clearanced. So, yeah, those are my overall thoughts on A, before, aftermarket, and B, before aftermarket version, or, yeah, the same thing, A and B are the same, no, before and after opinions on this set. So, I'm going to leave you all here with that. Let me know what you guys think of this set in the comment section down below, and I will see you guys all next time. Bye, everyone.